Hi friends, I've got a Chatty Cathy video for you today where I'm just gonna sit and talk. And my dad is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I was technically raised a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I just didn't care about football. My very first hand-me-down coat was a Kansas City Chiefs pullover coat that was really popular in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I still give my mom a really hard time for it because it was a boy's coat. They won, it's cool. I'm like a fair weather sports fan, but I just thought this shirt was really fun. Best t-shirt store in the universe is called Raygun. It is based out of Des Moines, Iowa, and they're more on the left-leaning variety. They have a lot of funny political shirts, but they also just have a lot of fun shirts in general. So today's Chatty Cathy video is going to be about the Modern Mrs. Darcy book club. I am just really having a almost come to Jesus moment with my reading this year, in that I listen to a lot of book podcasts. I listen to a lot of YouTube. I'm really active on Instagram. I just have a lot of books right now, and I think, as is everybody's goal, it's to read down your TBR. But I also have been a member of the Modern Mrs. Darcy book club since after law school. So 2016 or 2017 is when I joined the Modern Mrs. Darcy book club. I want to say it was 2017. And this is a totally online book club. Anne Bogle is the host, and she does the What Should I Read Next podcast, which is a really popular bookish podcast. And this book club is all online. She has a really cool platform. Every month you read a book, and then usually she gets the author. So like, I have been able to listen to Amor Towles. I've listened to Mary Laura Philpott, like Curtis Sittenfeld. There's just like a lot of big names. Gabrielle Zevin. So a ton of authors that come into this, because Anne Bogle does have quite the extensive reach. So it's a really, really fun online book club. If you're looking for a book club, but like you can't find one in person or whatever, this is just a really fun alternative because there are forums, so you get to connect with people. I actually don't do that great of a job. That's kind of one of my goals for this year. So just to be more engaged with the Modern Mrs. Darcy book club. So this video is going to be another TBR video because I've been a member of the book club for so long. And I would say like every year I read at least half of the books, and then the other half usually they're books I really do try to prioritize and commit to. But now I just have a lot on backlist that I never got to, or other things got in the way. I would just like to prioritize those. So I made a list of all of the books through book club that I wanted to read that I have missed, and there's quite a few. I also have a bunch of ones that I've read that I need to go watch the author videos, and so that's just like, it's not really a goal for this video, but that's something I just need to put out into the universe and make a priority. So like I said, this is just a book club. I'm not paid or anything to promote this. This is just something that I've been involved in, and I want to do a better job of engaging with that content. And usually there's a monthly book we read, and then she also always has extra classes. There's a summer reading guide that's awesome. It got me really hooked onto summer reading. She usually does this fall, winter, spring book previews as well. And then there's classes as far as like in August, we do Austen in August. So there's usually some Jane Austen adjacent class. There's a ton of things on like make me an expert in dark academia, make me an expert on book journaling, make me an expert on publishing. There's just so much extra content that really has taught me a lot about the book publishing world, about the book industry, about just what's coming out. I would say at least 50% of my reading life is because of Anne Bogle. I've learned so much through her, all of that. And so I just really want to get my money's worth for my membership in a way that I haven't in the last couple of years. Like during the pandemic, I was pretty involved because we didn't have anything else to do in 2020, but I've definitely found myself slipping away. So I have gone through and made a list of all the books I have not read from the book club that I would like to prioritize this year, and we're going to talk about them. So I went through the list, and there's actually about 20 books since 2016 that I have not read from the book club. So that's a pretty good, if you're looking at 8 years that I've been a member of this book club, where there's a book picked every month, and I've really only not read 20 of them. There's a few more I haven't read because I just wasn't interested in them. But I went through the list, and then I was like, okay, how many of these do I actually own? And that's how I created this list. So there's, out of the 20 this year, I would like to read 12 of them because they're books I own and I want to get them off my unread shelf, which, hey, don't we all? So to start, so the very first book that I would like to read that I own is News of This World by Paulette Giles. This is way backlist. I know nothing about it. I know it's a pretty little book. I was actually graciously sent it by the publisher. I think it was William Morrill when the movie came out, and they did like a movie cover. So I have that. That's probably why I haven't picked it up, is because I'm not a big movie cover girl. And then Gaudy Night is by Dorothy L. Sayers, and she's like kind of an Agatha Christie-esque level author. I've never read Dorothy Sayers, and I know a lot of people love her. And this is kind of a classic, so I own that. I would like to read that. I have The Space Between Us by Thrifty Umagar. I tried to read this at one point, and it's about like an extremely wealthy Indian woman and then a poor Indian woman who's her like cook and hired help. I just know nothing about it. I started it and then got distracted and put it down. Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler is a classic, and I have wanted to read more of Octavia Butler's work in the past. And this was just one that, again, I own, haven't gotten to it. And then from a couple NetGalley books I have from last year that I have not gotten to is The Postcard, which is a World War II historical fiction that's been translated from the French. And I'm not a huge, I've wanted to press pause on World War II historical fiction for a while, and it hasn't been something I've been reading, but I have heard nothing but good things about this, and it's a little bit different of a World War II novel. I think it's like descendants of someone who was in the Holocaust gets this postcard with like her family's name on it, and then she's looking back to her past. It's about like family dynamics and secrets. It sounds really good. Then The Secret Book of Flora Lee by Patty Callahan. She's one of my favorite authors. I love all of her books, and so this is just one I need to get to anyways. The Arsonist City is by Paula Al-Yan, and this is one that's been on my TBR for a while, but Middle Eastern setting, found like messy family, I think is the dynamic, which I love, and I would love to get to that someday. Hopefully this comes out as 12, because the way that this is loading on their website is really messed up. The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. This is a young adult book. I know very little about it. Again, I grabbed it, don't know anything about it, and it's one I own, so I figured that would be a good one to get to. And The Lovely War is a retelling. I've talked about this one as well multiple times on this channel and just haven't gotten to it, so that's another one I'd like to make a priority, because it's about the gods coming down, I think in World War I, and kind of like sowing chaos and making a bet against themselves that they can't make people fall in love. And so it has like the god component, but then like us real people world dynamics too. It just sounds really interesting, and I'm just gonna do a lot of hand waving because that's how I talk today, I guess. All right, and then the remaining 3 books are Kitchens of the Great Midwest by J. Ryan Straddle, and he is Minnesota. I don't think he's based in Minnesota, but he writes books set in Minnesota, which is my second home. My favorite place in the world is in Minnesota. This is about, I think, Lutheran families and kind of like church cooking, small town vibes, which is Be Still My Heart. So that's one I would love to get to. Modern Mrs. Darcy did a fall where we read a bunch of like cooking adjacent food writing books, and that's my kryptonite. That's just the one I kept putting off. It's kind of one of those books that's been a break in case of emergencies. I have like all of his books that he's written, and I have not read a single one because I just feel like I'm gonna love him so much, and I want to save him for like when I'm just having a really rough time, which that's not smart because I own so many books anyways. So I'm finally gonna break the seal and just read him. And then Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones is another one. And this is her, I don't think it's her debut, but she wrote An American Marriage, which I really, really loved. And this one is, I've heard as good of things about this one as I've heard about An American Marriage, but I know nothing about it. And I love going into book club books knowing nothing, because I think it gives me like the best type of attitude, ability to talk about a book, going into it blind. So the last one I want to read is Everyone Brave is Forgiven by Chris Cleave. I've also owned this one for forever, but it's World War II, and I just haven't gotten to it because I've, been going through an identity crisis with World War II fiction. So that's just the other one, because again, I want to read the things that I own that I can get off my shelf. So that's 12 books. There's a few others that I don't own that I am interested in, but that's not the goal for this year. This goal is just to solely read the books from my bookshelves. And so yes, this is another TBR. Yes, there's 12 books on this, but you know what? I don't care. I just think that this is another way to intentionally read my shelves and to interact with something that I already pay for. Those are the 12. If you've read any of them, a lot of them are pretty popular books, especially Everyone Brave is Forgiven and News of This World. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on if you've read those two. But anyways, I appreciate you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.